Manchester City are top of the Premier League. They are unbeaten, and nobody, including us, has spoken about them until now. How good are they actually this season? No Kevin De Bruyne. They've had injuries elsewhere. They're having a bit of their own injury crisis, but we seem to only hear about Arsenal's. They've been in good form and had a pretty difficult fixture on themselves. We only ever hear about Arsenal's. Where are we up to with this Manchester City team?
They're inevitable, right? And I use that word to describe footballers, but I'll use that to describe Man City. They will just get the job done. It's been a very different Man City team without Rodri. We're seeing that. They're struggling to get over the line. I think about recent games, the Fulham game where Adama Traore, if he has his shooting boots on, they don't win that. You look at the Wolves game where they needed a last-minute goal from John Stones to win that one. They're a team that they're not firing on all cylinders, but they're still unbeaten in the league. And what happens if we get 19 games in, 20 games in, and Man City is still unbeaten? And that's the kind of thing that Man City can do. We get to 25, 26 games in, Man City are still unbeaten. It's like, we look at a team that done the treble a couple of years ago, and now they're going to do the Invincibles because they are just that good. Erling Haaland is still the best striker in the world. They're not having to rely on some of the players that were stalwarts for them over the last 3 or 4 seasons. So they are actually good this season because they're top of the league, but they're not scintillating. But I don't think they need to be at this point in the season.
I feel as though we've spoken about this a little bit. I think the general quality of the top end of the Premier League has just dropped a little bit. And Man City, I think they control actually the quality. I think the moment they slip a little bit, the standard generally will slip because they are the ones that everyone's looking to. They're the benchmark. And I think by being the benchmark, everyone's become a bit desensitized. They're lost against Spurs and no one's really making a big deal of it because they'll win on the weekend and then they'll win after that and they'll win after that. What is interesting, I think, with this City team is they do feel a little bit more, what's the word? Fragile, probably, without
human?
Yeah, just a bit more human, yeah. Like Kyle Walker's pace isn't there now at right back and simultaneously Rodri's not there and simultaneously De Bruyne is injured. That's a big factor. This is all happening without Kevin De Bruyne, and even if his legs are somewhat gone, he's still the technician that he is, and he could come back and get them firing again. Then they've got Haaland up front, who is a monster. I do feel like they're getting carried by him a little bit. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, no, I do. And he started the season on fire. Scored 9 goals in his first 4 Premier League games, but only scored 1 in his last 4.
Which is a drought for him.
Yeah, he's a player that we can't really quantify. And if you're an NBA fan, you might be, this is an ESPN channel. Like, you think about Shaquille O'Neal. He was the best player in the NBA for like 2 or 3 years, but because he was 7 foot tall and so big and so physical, you couldn't really appreciate the skill level that he was bringing to it. Erling Haaland is one of the most skilled players in the Premier League. That one of the finishes in the Champions League, I think it was against Sparta Prague, where it was like a back heel overhead kick. It was incredible. But you are right. You worry about Man City if Erling Haaland goes down, because then you're really looking at it and like, who's going to carry us through this? But for Man City fans, they won't be worrying. 4 in a row, they've seen it before, they've done it before. And what they are as well, which doesn't get credited, they are the most clutch team, I think, in Premier League history. Every single time Man City win a title, it goes to the final day, or are in a title race, it goes to the final day, they win the title. They could be 2-0 down, they could be relying on the last minute Aguero goal, it could be under Mancini or Pellegrini or Pep Guardiola. There is something about the DNA of Man City when it comes to modern Premier League football where they just get the job done.
I mean, even this season, the late equaliser against Arsenal, the game they won 2-1 against Wolves.
Yeah.
Both John Stones goals, and you're going, it was Gundogan once upon a time, it's been Foden before. I think they just sort of passed the baton around. And for me, that's a feeling. That's a psychological feeling. I think they've done that to the Premier League, because in the second half of the season, Pep will say something to rile opposition fans up. But for now, he stays quiet. And for now, he goes, I'm just going to tinker a little bit. I'm going to figure out who's playing where. And I think at the moment, the benefit for them is they're top of the league. They're unbeaten, and they still have a lot of players ready to arrive at the dance. We haven't seen the best of Foden. And again, it feels like he's saving him again for the right time. Bernardo Silva hasn't really been brilliant this season. And then De Bruyne has yet to arrive to the dance. And I think as long as they avoid Haaland getting injured, and I do now feel without him, they'd be a completely different team because they've lost Rodri. If he gets injured, I think they are in a really, really big, because I don't see them scoring goals. That's the biggest takeaway so far this season is I think they're good, but they can't score without Haaland, which means I think the net of that is they're not actually that good.
Yeah, well, we saw it against Spurs in the Carabao Cup. Again, they rotated their side, but Haaland didn't even sniff the pitch. He was never going to play that. But they did struggle to score goals, and Nunez had to to be the man to deliver for them. And I think he's come to the fore a little bit more in recent weeks. We've seen him being more involved, but they're just different ways to skin a cat. And what one thing that Pep Guardiola has done this season, he's kind of highlighted the human aspect of Man City in terms of saying we've only got 13 fit players, because there is an idea that the Man City are a behemoth and they are this unstoppable force. And I feel like Pep Guardiola wants to quell that noise and just remind people that what we are doing is extraordinary. So give us the credit, because we don't know how long he's going to be there. But I agree with your point in terms of they are more human. They are a little bit more fragile, but I feel like that will make their achievements, if they do win the league for a 5th year in a row, even more impressive.